So guys, welcome to the Rise of the Super Being podcast. I'm Vanderson Pires, and today I have a very special guest, someone I admire a lot, Andrew Ferebee. So Andrew, he created lots of courses, so 10x your date and relationship. He wrote the dating playbook for men, the breakup manual for men, and the porno pandemic as well. Also, Andrew, it's a master life coach under Steve Jones, right?
Yeah, that was quite some time ago, but I've done hundreds of interviews on my podcast, and just through the different coaching programs and events and seminars that I've done, I believe it's been thousands and thousands upon guys now, and the podcast has close to 8 million downloads. So it's had an impact on men, and I think it reveals that men are searching.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and of course, you did the created the host of Knowledge for Men podcast. So it's one of my favorite podcasts all the time. So you record over 400 episodes, and man, as I was saying to you before, more than half I already.
That's wild.
Yeah,
That's wild.
and
I,
it's
I was actually right behind my screen here because we're recording this on Zoom. I have my I was editing a podcast like just before we got on here. So yeah.
That's amazing. And also another thing we cannot forget as well, you're a blue belt in BJJ in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
A couple of tournaments here and there. Yeah. I respect the sport and the martial art very much.
So Andrew, yeah, and man, you live in a place in San Diego where it has so many good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu academy. It's
Oh
all
yeah. There's so many here. There's many. I mean, there's one literally down the street for me. There's almost everywhere. I mean, even like local club fitness gyms will have jiu-jitsu classes. It's pretty popular here. There's a big Brazilian population here in San Diego on the beach.
hmm So do you still train, Andrew?
I don't train. I got into this work, and then it was just one of the hardest things I've ever done. I do regret not continuing because
hmm
I think it would have been a great journey to continue, but I chose this path, and this path was very hard and very challenging. And I quit my job. I was broke to do this, and it was a tough journey. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to sustain myself or if this is something I could do full time, but I was working like 12, 18-hour days just to try and figure this out. I mean, now there's so many blueprints available of how someone could share a message and make some sort of living from doing it. But back in 2012, 2013, it wasn't that clear. So I was fully committed to trying to share this message, and it did succeed. It did take some time though.
Yeah, that's so awesome. So Andrew, and can you please tell a little bit the how did you start the Knowledge for Men podcast? Because was something out of necessity, and something very unique as well. Because man, you interviewed just everybody you can name on this planet. High achiever.
Yeah.
You have been already on your podcast. Do you know another funny thing as well was I was listening to one of your episodes, and this guy, he said you went to this guy house. I forgot his name now, man. And you saw your name on his whiteboard, and you said, man, why my name is on your whiteboard?
Oh yeah.
Said that because I want to be on your podcast. I
Oh
think
yeah.
such
Yeah.
a
I
cool
remember.
story, man.
Yeah, I remember. The story starts just. I really was this lost guy, and I had struggled all of my life with women. I had just graduated college, and I had gotten a job, and I was working the 9 to 5, and I had the salary and the benefits. And I had gone through a breakup with a woman that I thought I was really excited about this girl. I thought we were going to go the distance, but it was the breakup and then just this sense of angst of being lost. And I felt like just life was this Groundhog Day, and I was starting to fall into a depression of just like, wow, is this really what life is like? I remember driving to work, and I just would be questioning like, wow, is this every day is the same? I do the same thing. And now I'm basically like becoming into adulthood, and I'm just not really, I'm not happy. I'm not happy. I thought that there was so much more was going to happen in my life. And I think it's that moment right there where you can question the direction you're going in your life, and you can then choose to like explore that and grow and try and figure out different alternative ways of living and pursuing a life that you're passionate about and of growth, more importantly. Or you can numb your existence and continue the Groundhog Day. And then you numb through, there's many ways to numb, but the obvious ones is drugs, alcohol, porn, video games, social media, all these things, anything basically on a screen that is exciting is a way or a substance that changes your state instantly. And you can, I saw guys just doing that. And that's sort of that was one path. And that sort of is an accepted norm today with men, which is you just make money and then you live for the weekends and numb yourself. And then you just do it all over again. And you just sort of roll up your sleeves and just, this is a good life. This is success. And I felt that this was not my version of success. And so I started sharing my thoughts online. And I didn't know, and I wasn't even trying, but these articles were going viral, and hundreds of thousands of people were in one day were going to my website. And I was just writing articles about my challenges in life and just different thoughts. Like I was just really vulnerable about my place in life as a young man trying to figure out his life. And I think what was happening was a lot of people were resonating with that I thought I was the only one. I didn't know that other people were sort of feeling this way. And the articles were going viral. And so I wanted to sort of embark on this journey to uncover answers and solutions from people who have results in their life, people who have made a life of their own choosing, people who have done incredible journeys and they chose a different path in life that was something that they were called to do, which if you look at the hero's journey, that's very much what I was trying to capture, which is Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. It's just that arc, that classic story of someone embarking on an adventure and overcoming challenges and then returning as the hero. You can think Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, The Matrix. There's always a hero who undergoes some challenges. And so I tried to, one, it was for myself, but two, I wanted others to benefit from this because I was starting to realize that other men were starting to think the same thing. Other guys were either they have been years or decades of numbing and they're like waking up, which is what my seminars were called, the awakening, where I would wake guys up and get guys to pursue the life they want. And that includes relationships. Relationships are a huge part of your life. And we can't deny that if you have the wrong partner, then that's not good. That's not good for her. That's not good for you. That's not good for your kids either if that happens. And so I want guys to be able to have the skills to date the type of women that they're truly excited about, and then starting to pursue a life of their own choosing. And so throughout all these interviews, it was for me, it was for the audience, and I felt like it was sort of ahead of its time back in 2013, 2014, 2015. Now podcasting's sort of mainstream now. I mean, with Joe Rogan and Spotify, $100 million deal. I think podcasting's actually a big platform, whereas I was just doing it because it was an easy way for me to get in the door of very successful people who otherwise would not give me the time of day. But since I had an audience of hungry, growth-oriented men, I was able to get people I just never thought possible. Like a lot of big name people, Grant Cardone, Gary Vaynerchuk, Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank, Tony Hsieh, the CEO of Zappos. I mean, there's just so many people. Some of my favorite authors, Ryan Holiday, Mark Manson, Robert Greene, all these people were just, they're just all saying yes, 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 yeah. And I was so happy. I'd spent so much time, preparing for an interview because I wanted to extract the best possible knowledge for the audience and as well as for myself. And after I would try and implement, and I'd try and put together these different themes and patterns and blueprints that I saw from all these interesting men and women. I interviewed women as well who've gone on incredible journeys. And I just started applying this stuff into my own life. And it's been, there is another way. And the path, that many men are on until they wake up. I believe it is one of Groundhog Day or suffering and a life not of their choosing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think men sort of feel like that they are almost stuck, and that this is just the way life is, and we should accept it, and we should just be strong men and just deal with it, and just not, don't complain, like just deal with it, versus, well, I'm not complaining, I just want to choose something that is going to light my soul on fire when I wake up, and that something like that is possible. And I think that's where men can truly find their purpose, and I think that's what's missing. You were sharing quite a bit about that in New Zealand.
Yeah, so that's amazing, Andrew. And again, yeah, I recommend every single thing you said about the preparation for your interviews. Yeah, you can truly see that through your work. So Andrew, you mentioned something about the success, and also what's your definition? Because you see, I think one of the reasons men are so lost, it's because it's that idea of, okay, so what success means to the capitalist world, so the idea of have the car, have the house, have this and that. And so what's your definition?
Yeah, and this is something that I think men are really wrestling with, for those who do wake up. So they do wake up, and then they start pursuing growth, and then they chase a skewed version of success, which I was starting to fall into probably in 2015 and 2016, when things were happening that I never thought possible. And people were flying from all over the country to come to these seminars. People were paying a lot of money. People were paying for coaching. People were paying for courses. Like, it was almost like everything I did during that period, I like had the golden touch, and like I had struck a message with men, and with that came some level of financial success that I had never seen before, and that I had never experienced before, coming from a lower middle class family, and coming from a household where my dad was always without a job. He's always struggling. Mom just working like not that great of a job either. So when I started earning money, that became, I did start to lose myself for some time. And with that, I started to lose my purpose. I started to lose who I was, and sort of the meaning behind the message. And so it took some time for me to realize that more money is not necessarily the answer, but the ability to wake up and live in alignment with your truth, live in alignment with what it is that you want to do, to not necessarily, like, getting to a place where you don't necessarily look at projects with a dollar sign, such as this one. Like, you hit me up, I see that you're a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I look at, kind of click around, you're doing incredible work, and I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, let's jam on a podcast. That sounds fun, and it's something that I would want to do. I'm not like, no, there's no dollar sign here. Focus on only money making projects. And so to wake up and to choose what it is that you're going to do with your time, but ultimately living in alignment with your truth. And like, after this, like, my friend's going to come over. We're going to go surfing on the beach. We're going to go have tacos later at night. And then I believe I have a date. We'll see if she comes or not, but she should be coming. And it's like, right now I'm doing a really fun podcast with you. Right before this, I was editing my own podcast with a really successful guy that I interviewed. And so you could see the day is just, it's a fun day. It's just a really solid day. And the next day, tomorrow, I have a bunch of friends. We're getting a boat, and we're going to go fishing. We're going to have just, we'll barbecue, and we'll just having like a good time. But it's actually hard to do this, because I have a lot of friends who are very successful, but they won't be doing any of these fun things. They won't be doing the things that they truly want to do, even though they make a lot of money. Like, it takes like you have to make like a conscious choice about what success is for you, and letting go of the ego and of the comparison, so that you can truly live in alignment with your truth, which is, you see my shirt, grounded. This is what I believe grounded is.
Yes.
I believe it is one of the hardest challenges of man, to live in alignment with your truth. Because we all know what we would like to do, or what we would want to do, but can you live in alignment to that? even, you know what you might want to say, but you don't say it. You know, you might want to, and make that phone call, but you don't do it, or approach that girl, but you don't do it, or have a tough conversation with your girlfriend or wife, but you don't do it. And the less that men can hide, and the more that they can just show up to situations that they know that they are leaning towards or being called towards, just the better of a life that that individual is going to have. And so I don't think more money is the answer after a certain point. So after you've obviously paid your bills and have a, like, you're a basic level of just some stability, after that, like, you have really won. Once you have stability with something that you're doing, you've won. And now you can just sort of work and design the life that you would most enjoy.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So Andrew, purpose, it's a massive thing. It's something super important. So what's your advice for someone to trying to find their purpose? Because you're clear, for the things you're saying, for the things you're doing, you found your purpose. So for someone's a little bit lost, what's your advice for them?
Yeah, the advice, it's actually a lot to say there, but to start, one is, that's actually a great place to be. It's not necessarily a bad place to view, hey, I'm lost, I'm not sure what to do. When I look back at when I quit my job and I was really feeling, I didn't know what to do. Like, I didn't know what direction to take, what path to take. I didn't, like, to wake up and to not have a structure is a scary place if you've always had structure with work and school. So kind of reframing this as, this is like one of the most exciting times of your life. Because when I was in that state and I was starting to just try new things and put myself out there, that was one of the most exciting times of my life. When I didn't know what I was sort of meant to do, or what I wanted to do, or what my purpose was. So understanding that not knowing is actually a beautiful place. If we shift, instead of feeling anxiety about it, we feel, wow, this is actually exciting, because you're not glued to anything, and you don't have to do something. You can pretty much do anything. And so it's really the start of the hero's journey. It's the thing that the guy needs to do is answer the call to adventure. He needs to start viewing this period of his life as if it's an adventure. And a part of every adventure is to go and try new things. And through trying new things, mentors and other people will appear on that path. But no one will appear if you continue the same exact patterns and routines that you've been currently doing. But on every journey that I've embarked on, because you'll embark on just many journeys throughout life, and I believe that is what makes life worth living, is the making progress on heroes' journeys in your own life. That's what makes life exciting. And to put yourself in new environments, and there will be mentors, there will be books that people recommend, there will be podcasts that you can listen to, there will be role models that you find. And so that I find to be, like, if we can reframe it, that is an important part, is to get out of anxiety, stop beating yourself up, and realize, like, this is actually one of the best moments of your life. And if you treat it that way, then when you show up in life, you're just a lot more alive, and you can just saying yes to things, like saying yes, like putting yourself out there and saying yes to just different adventures, and following that fear and embracing risk along that path. Because if we let fear stop us, or if we let risk, oh, I need to do this, but I don't know, I'm scared. But understanding that, like, inside of the journey, it is full of challenge, it is full of failure and of hardship and suffering at times, but it is through those challenges that build you into a man. And ultimately, that's what the journeys would do for you, is build you into a stronger man, because you have come out and overcome some of these really difficult journeys. I mean, you could think of a white belt in jiu-jitsu when he first walks in, versus his mindset as he elevates to blue belt, to purple belt, to brown belt, to black belt. He holds himself in a different manner. He shows up in a different light. And why so? He's been through a journey. He's been through some really challenging rear naked chokes and arm locks and triangle chokes. And He's gone through many different gis, and he's had to wash his gi 3,000 times. Like he's been through a lot, and that's what builds him into a grounded man.
Mhm.
So that's what I would say. And it really is on how you view your current state. Like, to not know is actually an exciting place. And you can apply that in almost any area where you're not sure what to do with regard to, oh, I don't know what business I should start. That's exciting. You don't always necessarily want to be tied to one business. For like, you can wake up and you're free. Or if you're single, like you just went through a breakup, the moment you can really view that as, this is actually one of the best, being single can be one of the best moments of your life if you engage, if you show up, if you engage. And so your mindset of how you view the current circumstance really dictates how you're going to show up today and the next day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so interesting what you said, the example you use with BJJ as well, because it's exactly that. It's the BJJ can give now to men this experience of the rite of passage, so that idea of,
Oh yeah.
you have to earn, the belt. I always say to the guys, man, the only thing you're able to pay here is for, the right of to come and practice jiu-jitsu here. But, belt is something you don't buy, you have to earn. And I think that give men a little bit of this idea of exactly what you said, showing up. Sometimes you're not gonna feel like to train, but you have to keep pushing forward and keep coming to the class. And man, you're never gonna be comfortable. Some people say, "Hey, when this get easy?" I said, "My friend, I've been doing that for 26 years. Never get easier."
Yeah, my brother's a black belt. He says it's harder when you're a black belt because everyone's trying to get after you. They're trying to prove themselves. You're like, they want to, I passed a black belt's guard. He says everyone's like 3 times harder. So
Yeah, so true. So Andrew, by coaching so many people, what was the most common question people come to you to ask for help?
Well, I guess it depends on where is the guy at? Because I can break down different archetypes. Usually men come to me when they're in a state of pain, of they're lost, they're sort of lost, like what your previous question was about purpose, or they're in pain, typically from relationships being sort of this moment when men realize that something's not right here, because I keep going through breakups, I keep going through divorces, I keep going through this very painful experience, and I think something's wrong here. I think I'm not showing up. And so I believe if we have to narrow it down, that it would likely be the ability to be grounded with women, the ability to show up in a powerful way with women. I feel that a lot of guys are coming to me and they have been living sort of as this nice guy, or they are not getting their needs met in relationship, which then over time, the women could then take advantage of that. And then it's not an attractive dynamic. The whole masculine, feminine polarity is out of balance when the man isn't showing up in his masculine. That is indirectly going to increase the woman's masculine energy as well, because there's no masculine in the relationship. And then that's when we sort of start seeing a lot of that frustrating, nagging, disrespect, lack of support, lack of a good sex life in a relationship. So I have probably 160 clients right now, like as we speak, and I would argue 90% of them come to me for that reason alone, is how can I be, whether they're single or in an existing relationship, by being grounded in a relationship, especially in those moments where I call it the feminine wrath is upon you as sort of like a joke, but it's when you're in a state of high anxiety and there's a disagreement, there's conflict, there's tension. And it's in those moments when if the man can't handle those moments, and she's really going to lose respect and lose trust because the man isn't able to lead the relationship. And if she has to do it, then we are either going to lead towards towards a breakup eventually, or we're going to have a very dysfunctional relationship that is predicated on logistical reasons, such as financial reasons, or religious reasons where they're not allowed to break up or anything. So yeah, how can I be grounded with women? And it is not something that is really taught unless you had a father who was a strong, healthy, masculine male role model, which is something that is very rare today. From what I'm seeing, is a lot of a man's issues can be rooted from how he was raised and how his view of masculinity and femininity was between his parents and his siblings, and then that this will then just spark off from there. But very rarely will I have a guy who struggles immensely with women and showing up to women in a strong way who also had a strong father. It's usually a non-existent father who was either not there because he was sort of hiding or numbing himself, or he was actually not there in the picture at all. And so we have a lot of we have a lot of men who are who in many ways are boys in adult bodies.
Wow, that's so powerful. Can you tell a little bit more of that, Andrew? Because especially, for example, in New Zealand, I can talk now about New Zealand and Brazil, that the number of domestic violence, it's massive, massive. And I think linked with what you said, the inability of to be able to have a conversation, to deal with their emotions, to be grounded, right?
Right. Yeah. So what was the...
Yeah, so the idea is how can we improve that as a man?
So what I'm hearing is, how can men improve their communication with women?
That's right.
So we could back up a bit and ask why, because we know what we want. The man knows what he wants in terms of, I would like more respect. I'd like to have her support me while I'm working or while I'm creating my business, or I'd like to have a better sex life. We're only having sex once a month, or not even really at all. He sort of knows what he wants, but he's scared to communicate. He's scared to bring it up out of fear that if he does try and bring up a conversation that would create conflict or tension, it would then increase his anxiety. And as a man who struggles with women, he wants to avoid tension. He wants to avoid conflict. If he fits into that nice guy archetype, he does not like tension. It's sort of like kryptonite to him, because when he's in that phase, he feels a threat. There's some sort of perceived threat of loss, or a perceived threat of his own validation. So where we can go with that is working on why won't the man do it? And it's the increased state of anxiety. So then we look at, okay, well, why is he having such high anxiety? Why is there an inability to communicate your needs with women? And then often, if we go down the trail, it's likely due to, if I do communicate and we get into an argument, then I am fearful of rejection. I'm fearful of loss of her. I'm fearful that she will leave me and I would have to be single again. So in order to avoid that whole scenario, I just will keep my mouth shut. But we know that the longer a man keeps his mouth shut or doesn't show up in the relationship, then this is suggesting he's not a leader in the relationship. This is not a man that she can follow. And she's losing trust in him, which then it's this downward spiral for that relationship. So then we have to get the guy to say this. Every man in a relationship, but the men I work with, I get them to, how can they control their anxiety? Similar to perhaps you're about to get, the choke is almost there. And if you're a white belt, you tap it right away. But the higher up belts you go, you learn how to control that panic, that fear that you might get unconscious. So you control your anxiety, and you can do that the same way with women, is controlling the anxiety and being calm and grounded in the moments when you feel that there's a perceived threat, or that she may lash back, or an argument might happen. But we can eliminate a lot of this anxiety when we can get the man to accept that no matter what happens, he'll be okay, because he has a fear of loss and of rejection, of validation, and these are all primal needs. But he needs to understand that he'll be okay, even if in the worst case scenario. So if I can get the guy to accept worst case scenario of the argument and then accept it and know that in the worst possible scenario, you'll be okay. Mm-hmm. Whereas that is what men don't believe. They believe they will not be okay, which is why they hide, which is why they don't bring it up, which is why they will then go the other extreme, which you talk about domestic violence, and they will try and regain their power through physical confrontation as a way of shutting down the feminine, rather than being a masculine leader who can lead his woman back into her feminine, where she can be more playful, supportive, nurturing, all the beautiful feminine traits that we all love. So if he can accept that he'll be okay, it's a lot easier to now show up in the relationship. And you can take it further, which is accepting that even if she left you, that you would be okay. That would be a very hard and difficult conversation to accept, but it is a true statement. I know it's hard to accept, but it is a true statement. And that's a statement that not a lot of men have accepted or even confronted, which is, if me bringing up some sort of boundary, something that's important to me, like not little things like, oh, you didn't clean this up, but like something real, something like a real core issue that is preventing the relationship from moving forward or preventing the man from showing up because he's not getting his needs met in the relationship. So it makes it hard for him to meet her needs. But if we can get the guy to accept that, hey, even with that, I can be happy without this woman, that I can still find new love with this woman. And I'm not encouraging men to break up. That's not the path, but to know that you would still be okay, hypothetically, if this was worst case scenario. And really coming to terms with that, because it is a true statement, and the guy would be okay. I'm not saying it won't hurt, but you would be okay, and you would still be able to thrive, and you would still be able to find love again. And that this one woman is not the only woman in the world. Now, again, I'm not telling guys to use this as a way of like, hey, I don't need you, so I don't have to like deal with this, or like, it's more so a mindset shift where the man can now, if he needs to assert a firm boundary, he can do it from a place of confidence and power versus not showing up at all versus hiding. And so how a man shows up with his anxiety can tell me a lot about how successful he'll be in a relationship, because you will have to have difficult conversations in a relationship. Your needs do matter, and a lot of men don't get their needs met. And because of that, they don't show up in their relationship. That's just like a introductory conversation around that topic.
That's awesome. Yeah, because we quite hear a lot the idea, men, doesn't express themselves. This is why it creates so much tension. Even the evolutionary idea as well of woman has way more words on their vocabulary, to express themselves, and men has less. Even I was saying to you before, Andrew, I had the experience of teaching mindfulness and meditation at the prison.
Yeah.
And I have the opportunity to share your book there, and the guys were very impressed because they first they kind of make it a little joke of me, said, so because they always trying to push you there as well, and they said, so why do you need a book for dating? And I said, oh, my friend, you can always improve, everything you can do. You can improve the way you walk, you can improve, and it has a book for that. And your book was a huge success there, was very, very interesting. But I had two opportunities, Andrew. One, to work at the prison, the Mayo prison, when the guys, they only express themselves when they're in the groups. When you put them, individually on the side, that, as you said, the anxiety kicks in. And it's interesting because the prison with a woman, it's completely the opposite. Woman, they express themselves very well. It's interesting because they still run their family through the phone as well at the prison. And what you said about anxiety, it's so interesting. What's your advice, Andrew, for someone? Um, what a daily thing someone could do to diminish the anxiety?
Yeah, is a lot of men today who also struggle with women are also struggling to have an invigorating life. You typically don't find a guy who has this invigorating, thriving life, and then no women are interested.
Mm, I
It's
love that.
usually they go together, and so when the guy is in a Groundhog Day, and what I mean by Groundhog is just very routine. He wakes up, he gets ready, he eats the same meal, he goes to work. You know, he doesn't necessarily like his job, but it pays for the bills, so he continues on, and then he eats lunch, and then he goes home, goes to the gym, comes back, watches Netflix, watches porn, watches whatever he does. And he can even be married, but just unhappy, doesn't really talk to her. They're more like roommates. And then we spend a lot of time on devices. We spend a lot of time really not in a state of anxiety. We really not putting ourselves, because like we're very primal, historically evolutionary. We were pretty much always suffering as humans. Like humans historically, we're basically always in a state of struggle, a state of discomfort in order to survive. In fact, just most people just wouldn't be able to survive, and they would die. And so understanding like where we come from and what our roots are and what we're actually capable of as humans, and then this world that we live in that has shifted in the past, like probably in the last 50 to 100 years, where comfort is actually just the norm and discomfort is something we push away. Like, whoa, what is that? And I think that's why Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is such a great martial art, because you can really go the distance, whereas boxing or something, you spar, but you don't go the distance. The tap suggests that you died. You really go the distance, which I think is a great platform for men to challenge themselves and to put themselves into a state of discomfort on a regular basis. Jiu-jitsu being, I recommend that actually to all men to at least do 6 months, like understand just the foundations at the bare minimum, or wrestling or some form of no-gi grappling, because you can really go hard without getting really injured. But those are some physical aspects. But I encourage men to do things that you naturally want to do as a way of training yourself to handle sudden increased states of anxiety as well as discomfort. Because when it happens really quick, we often freeze. And when we freeze, and you see that jiu-jitsu is just a great analogy for this, but you see that when a guy freezes, and when something's happening and he just kind of freezes and the guy just kind of takes his back or something. But men can do things that they naturally want to do to put themselves in those states. And a very simple thing, it's very simple. It's too simple, and it's something everyone could do today, would be taking, ice cold showers in the morning, because when you get in there, you'll notice your anxiety will increase and you don't want to do it. And it's a state of discomfort, but you have to ask yourself, why am I feeling this? And if you really go down that path, it's because you think there's some sort of perceived threat, that you won't be okay, that something bad is about to happen. But in reality, nothing bad will happen to you. But it's a great, something just everyone could do right after this. Just when you take a shower tonight or in the morning, just take a regular shower and then put it all the way to the cold, and just notice your anxiety spike up. And you can really feel those emotions about why am I scared in this moment when nothing bad will happen to me? In fact, cold showers are actually good for you. And so, that's just one simple thing, but getting guys to embrace discomfort and really tap back into who they are as men and as humans, which is, we are actually very good at handling discomfort and anxiety. The only problem is that we live in a society where it's the complete opposite. Everything is so comfortable. Everything is so, like my neighbor here, he always is getting the food delivered, like the restaurant food. Postmates is what it's called here. I don't know if you guys have that. Grubhub. where the delivery guy will always bring. So he just sits there and drinks and plays video games and gets all his food delivered. And it's just an example of extreme comfort. Not embracing. I'm here by the beach, and it's like, go out, like go explore, and do things that put yourself in uncomfortable situations, and know that this is good and this is healthy. Because if you don't have it, then in the times that it does occur, you will fail. And usually those times are very critical for you as a man. But you can hack this by doing things you want to do. Like after this, I'm going surfing. I'm surfing bigger and bigger and bigger waves. And there's a lot of anxiety when that wave is come. You're like, oh, this wave's two times bigger than the previous ones. And you're like, oh, you're paddling. You don't know if you're going to nosedive and flip, and your friends are watching. There's a lot of anxiety there, but it's healthy. It's good, especially when you do succeed and you do calm yourself in that moment. But I do think jiu-jitsu is a very powerful way. I recommend to, even though I'm not actively practicing, I acknowledge that it is a great platform for men, as far as mindset, controlling their anxiety, and you're in discomfort the entire time. I don't think there's anything, even when you win, you're in a state of discomfort, because you kind of barely win.
So true. So true. That's so awesome. So Andrew, just man, my friend, I know you're super busy. I'm gonna just read something here
I
because
got time. I got time for you. So
okay, cool. So I love that, man. There's always given, because normally I listen to your podcast in the morning before I go to the academy, because I'm a one-man band, so I go there, I clean the club, I'm the receptionist, I'm the coach, I do everything there. So before in the morning, I go to the gym. I drop my wife to work, and I go to the gym, and this is the time I listen to your podcast. And I always, with my little taking notes, people even ask, oh man, so you taking notes of your sets? I said, no, I'm just taking notes of the podcast I'm listening. And one of the things that, so man, so for example, one of the, it's so powerful for me, man, give me, especially in the morning, because just the introduction of your podcast, Knowledge for Men, it's already very inspired. So your level of success will soon exceed your level of a personal development, because success is something you attracted by the person you become. How powerful is that?
it's very powerful. Yeah, I believe that's how Elrod. I believe.
Mm. And that's
Yeah.
super cool, man. So how you have this experience all the time, interviewing all these people. So which interview has I know it's a hard question in 400, but
Yeah, it's a hard question.
yeah, can you tell just some, the as growing as a man, and going through lots of challenges as well, because I know you lost your father, you got very sick as well. So doing those interviews, how those interviews was shaping you, Andrew, to become
Yeah.
better, a better version of yourself, to become, there's even this idea of the podcast, the rise of the super being, it's exactly that, how can an ordinary person become a better vision of themselves, and keep growing.
Yeah. As far as the first question with like favorite episode, I have a top 10 list on my website, knowledgeformen.com, and then just go to podcasts. But the first one that I have here is Mo Got It. And he was like an engineer at Google who we talk about happiness, and he has this just great formula for happiness. William McRaven, who was the commander of special forces for the United States, and his just simple message of, if you can't make your bed in the day, then you're not going to win the day. And I mean, it's just, the reason why that's interesting to me is just because it's so simple, and it's something that like you think you would tell that to your 5-year-old, but he was the commander of all special forces for the United States, and so I just think like we would think of him as the ultimate badass guy, but his message is so simple with just like basic discipline. Kamal Ravikant was his whole message was about loving yourself, and I think that's something that men should ask themselves: is, do I love myself? And often there's a lot of tension in that question. And it's like, oh, like we haven't asked, you're trying to get love from everyone else, but what about you? What about just filling up your own cup first? So, I mean, there's a ton of really good episodes that people can check out on the site. But the second question was more so like, how can men become like the strongest version of themselves? Or what? A part of what I've learned from all of these people is that they all had to go through a journey. Like, I interview these people trying to dissect the journey, and they all had one. There wasn't one who was like, oh no, like no, that wasn't me. I didn't have to go on a journey. It just happened. Like there wasn't actually, I'll be like, what were the challenges? What were the failures? No one was ever like, oh, well, there wasn't. Everyone had challenges. Everyone went and embarked on journeys where they had massive failures. And there was always this state in that journey where they wanted to give up, and they were almost at rock bottom, and they didn't feel like they could keep going. And when you hear that same story, but played out in different journeys, whether it's like someone's trying to be a Navy SEAL, or someone is, a multimillionaire, or someone is climbing up Mount Everest, so many different stories, there's always that the same common thread of the hero's journey. And when we can look at our own life as if we are on these journeys, as I suggested earlier, but when we do get in that pit, when we do get in that dark place where we don't feel like this is working, or that what is the point of all of this, and we're really at a low point in our lives, that is the area where you will find the most growth of yourself as a man. And so what this does, if you make that reframe, that the big low point is actually the greatest thing for you as a man, that to become a grounded man, to become the hero of your life, you are required to go through severe low points at times, not permanently. I don't think guys should always be suffering and pain, but there are phases in life. And so when we are in those phases, and I think right now a lot of people are, there's a lot happening in the world. People are losing jobs economically. A lot of people are going through hard times and uncertainty, but we can view this as opportunities for growth. And what this can do is enable us to be excited for journeys, and be excited to continue to try new things, and because we won't necessarily be so scared of the failure, of the pit, because we actually want that. We're not failing. We're not losing. We're actually just going through life, and we're enjoying it as much as possible, and we're growing on the journey. So that has been profound. And you shared too, last year, it's been some time, a little over a year, when my father passed away, and I got really sick, and my business, because of these two events, and there was also a close friend of mine who died in a helicopter accident. And all of these events happened within about a 4-week period. And each one of those is enough to set, anyone back quite some time. And they all happened in a 4-week period, which then put me, I thought I had low points before. I thought that I had overcome challenges before, but that moment where my business is crumbling because I'm not necessarily showing up to my business, I'm not necessarily paying attention to things, like I'm emotionally in so much pain, and I'm just questioning so many things about life. Like, why is this all happening as far as my dad and my friend? So it brought me to my knees in such a low point that it was the ultimate test for me, and for being grounded. It's okay, Andrew, you're all about this. You've overcome all these different challenges. You've interviewed all these people, but here's your cataclysmic event right now, right here. How grounded are you going to be? Because I easily could have just fallen back into, I have a past history of alcohol and drug abuse, and falling back into the old patterns. And I chose to be sober throughout that event and throughout that phase, so that I could feel the pain, and that I can go through it and just take it day by day. So from all of that, it's allowed me to become stronger, and then to share these messages with so many of the guys, whether they're clients or they're listening to the podcast and things like that. But it has been I'm not going to say like I'm happy it happened or anything like that, but because it's hard for me to say this back then. I couldn't even picture myself saying this, but looking back, I mean, it has been a journey that has really given me the lessons, the strength, and courage to continue the work that I'm doing. And so everyone's going to have those moments, and it is the ultimate test of the man, is how will he handle himself when he's really in those places, because that could have easily have set me back many years, whereas I basically started to recover back in January of this year, so 8 or 9 months ago, and yeah, it's been the journey, and yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's super cool. So Andrew, you just mentioned before, what's your definition of happiness?
Yeah, well, it's I'd say it's almost very similar to the definition of success, in that, being able to wake up and do the things that you want, and to, when I live in alignment, that's when I'm most happy. So when I'm living in alignment with whatever that is, whether it's my work, or it's with dating, or it's with friends, or it's in hobbies, but just living in alignment makes me feel happy. Even if it's something bad might happen, like if I know I need to break up with this woman, that's painful, but I'm living in alignment to what I know is true with me. And that has always guided me in making decisions that would always benefit me the following day, week, month, and year. So, today is a great day. It's continuing. I'm happy with the day. And I'm happy to just continue to do work that I enjoy, and to share a message that I think is important for men around the world, which indirectly is going to benefit women, as women are the ones asking, where are all the good men? And that's my definition of happiness.
Yeah, that's a good question. Where are the good men?
Yeah, where are they? But they are growing, and there are many, many, many good men out there, and there are many men who are on journeys, and we're all in this together, and I don't want guys thinking that like I'm above or anything. Like, I'm right there with you. Like, I'm currently going through many different journeys, and I believe I overcame quite a big one not too long ago.
Yeah. So Andrew, now do you cry, Andrew? When do you cry?
I
Cry.
haven't when my dad passed away, and I got the news on I got a call from the sheriff, and then he was very professional, but he just kind of talked to me like he was talking about anything. But and you always kind of wonder what it would look like when that situation occurs, especially if your father's getting older. You're kind of like, what would that look like? And I just couldn't believe that it was happening, and I couldn't believe that this is what it looks like. And I couldn't believe it was real. It was so hard to believe, but I remember instantly I just fell to the floor and started crying so hard. I haven't cried that hard in many, many years. Like, I didn't know that I was capable of crying like that. It was like a deep, it was almost like there was just so many emotions around it. And, but it was very much necessary. I won't say that I cry I'm pretty good with, that's a serious challenge. And I think that warrants every ounce of emotion around it to be expressed and explored and shared. But with other challenges, like let's say business or something like that, where things, or maybe a girl, something's not working out, but I guess I'm at a point where I feel like I'm just I just stay grounded through it, that I don't necessarily get extremely emotional, but I'm not saying that I won't, but it's more so in the situations and events that are, very significant. I'm not going to hold that back. I understand that there's a lot of emotion here, and I've got to let this out. Like this is natural. This is healthy. And there's no shame in a man who's crying for something that is important to him, any sort of loss or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So Andrew, two more questions, Andrew. So
Cool.
what's hold the men back? So porno, fast food, Netflix, Tinder. What's hold the men back?
Yeah, I think at at an external level, I think what's holding men back are what I would call vices of man, which is, yes, porn and anything that creates instant gratification. So porn is instantly gratifying. Alcohol is instantly gratifying. You take the shot, instantly gratifying. Drugs, cocaine, instantly gratifying. Tobacco, instantly gratifying. Video games are instantly gratifying. Netflix, I don't know if Netflix is instantly gratifying. It is gratifying though. And what I mean by Netflix, just any sort of, when you're just watching a lot of TV or binge watching, for instance, you're sort of in a daze, and in many ways you're hiding. So that's what it can look like. Because if you're doing those things, then you're not advancing your life. Your life is not improving. You're not going after your journeys that I talk about. The hero's journey are all on halt. We haven't answered the call to adventure because we're still numbing. And so if we haven't answered calls to adventure, if we haven't embarked on journeys, then we're not moving forward in life. And the man's life is on halt. And what happens is often I get these guys who will come to me, whether they're 30, 40, 50, or 60 even, and they typically come to me after something, how they found me. Somehow they found me. And they will tell me how they have lived the last decade or 2 decades or 3 decades in that state. And they didn't know. They just thought that this was life, and they didn't realize that your 20s is over. Once it's over, it's over. Your 30s. Once it's over, it's over. You're not getting it back, and you're only aging, and you're only going, you're only losing time. And when men realize that, and they look at how much time they spent in vices and distractions, they realize that there's this whole other world out there, and it's one where you are embarking on the adventures that call to you, the ones that you've always wanted to do, the ones that really light your belly up, and the fire in the belly, where you're excited to do the thing that you want to do. So that's what it can look like externally. And then you get these guys, they typically will end up finding me after a breakup or even a divorce, and then they realize how that's how they were showing up in their relationship, and that's how they were even showing up with their kids. And it leads to a dysfunctional life. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm never going to have a drink again, that I'm never going to watch, the Mandalorian, the Star Wars. I might watch those. I might check it out. But the point here is that I don't let those things slow down or prevent my journeys from taking place. My journeys, what I'm doing with my life, comes first. If there's any time left over, then I may watch a show. I may watch a movie. I may do things, but so I don't want guys to think I just never enjoy movies. Like, I think the new 007's coming out. I'll probably watch it, but I will for sure put in, my goals first above that. I will ensure that I'm making progress on my journeys and what's important to me, and showing up in life versus hiding. Because the question that guys need to ask themselves is, what else are you going to do? Why would you not do the thing that you would like to do? And it's typically rooted in some sort of fear. But again, that's where we find the most growth. That's where we find that you will rise as a man in those stages of overcoming fear and the tension and the rock bottom phases that I talked about. So that's sort of like externally what can happen of how it could hold someone back. And then I guess that leads right into internally, is that fear of, why would I not do this? Well, I'm scared I might fail. I'm scared that, I'm going to be embarrassed. I'm scared that this isn't going to work out. And if I look back at all the interviews that I've done, there's no one who started their journey and just knew exactly what to do, and also that they would not incur any sort of failure. It's an expected part of the journeys, and it's an expected part of man becoming the strongest version of himself. So it would then seem that the way forward is to then let fear guide us. So the very thing that is preventing us, we need to not run from it, but we need to actually turn around and start walking towards it. And sort of like a horse with a carrot stick, the carrot stick being fear, it will never end. You will always be able to follow the path of fear. But in many ways, you could replace the word fear with growth. And it is actually the same thing, because in order to grow, you will have to embrace your fears. So that is the path. And that's what's going to make you a man that you're proud of for yourself. When you know that you're living in alignment, like that's what's going to make you look in the mirror and feel like you're the man, like you are doing it. Like this is, you're seizing life. And that's a feeling that is priceless, that not even multimillionaires or billionaires might have, because it's a feeling of alignment. And just because you have money doesn't mean that you're aligned.
That's so awesome. That's super powerful. So Andrew, which question should I ask you and I didn't?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Because man, you know, you've interviewed so many people, no? So which question should I ask you to, you know, to again explore a little bit more your expertise? And I didn't.
Yeah, I don't. I don't know. All I'm looking at here is, let me just show you what I'm looking at. Like,
Yes.
I'm here.
Oh man, beautiful. That's awesome.
So like when I'm talking, like the ocean's right there and the beach is right there. So I'm gonna surf. I'm meeting my friend. Yeah, and we're gonna surf, and then we surf for sunset, and it's just so beautiful.
That's awesome. So Andrew, what's the meaning of life for you, Andrew? What's the purpose? What's the purpose? Let's get very. I was like, you know, because you have the session on your podcast, you know, the
Yeah, the knowledge.
question. Yeah. So for me, I always ask the embrace the chaos, you know. So kind of what's life is about it.
You know, that's a very powerful question, and I'll only share from my own experience. The meaning of life, I would say, is very simply to embark on your hero's journey, and to do as many as you can. Whether that's a black belt, that is clearly a hero's journey. Whether that's becoming a musician, whether that's finding the love of your life, that is a journey. That's going to take time. That's going to take failure. That's going to take challenges. Whether that's traveling to the places, to many places that you want to travel to, or if that means quitting your job to then travel and find and to recreate yourself through travel. There's so many different journeys that one could go on. And I can't tell a man what you should do, but I can tell you to follow your curiosity, and so that you will find journeys and adventures that are most compelling to you. And we can only go on so many in our life. We can only go on so many. And I think the more that you can embark on, the more that you set sail on this journey and you commit, like you're on the journey, like you're setting sail, and you know, you're committed, you're burning the boats, you're not going to go back. And this is something that you're all in on. This is it. And I'm going to go away until, you know, I'm not returning until I come back a hero of this path. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're leaving your town, or it could, but it's more so you're leaving your old self, and you're transforming into this other version of yourself. And so that to me is very much the meaning of life, is to embark on as many heroes' journeys as possible, this is what makes life worth living. You know, if you're watching a movie, or if you're watching the movie of your own life, you know, is it actually compelling? Is it something that people would want to watch? Is it something that people would get up and leave and want a refund? Because your movie is so boring, because you're doing the same thing. There's no failure. There's no climax. There's no, there's no chaos. There's no drama. It's all blasé. It's the guy hiding. It's the guy numbing himself. It's the guy not showing up in life. So if you view it like that, you know, it make this life, you know, with as many journeys as you can, each journey being like its own movie. And, you can really accomplish a lot when you view it that way, because you're almost in a way sort of separating yourself from the pain and the challenges, because you're kind of in many ways, I won't say looking forward to it, but you're more so expecting it. You're more so like, this is that part. Of course this is going to happen. And I know what to do here. I know I need to persist. I know I need to talk to mentors. I know I need to continue growing. I know I need to keep moving forward and not give up. And that's a guy that you would want to be friends with. That's a guy that, you know, your kids would be proud of. It's a guy that people would want to follow. That guy, he's really interesting, because those are the most interesting men. It's men who have embarked on many different journeys, and they can talk about so many different things they've been through, different challenges, different hardships and failures, and just funny moments and beautiful moments along the journey. People who are boring, like if you're boring, it's because you aren't on a journey. And if you are bored right now listening, hopefully you're not bored listening. Hopefully this is valuable for you. But if you're bored in your life, just in general, it's because you're not on a journey. You're not taking advantage of this opportunity you have. And I think when someone, and as anyone gets older, you're going to start experiencing death as a normal sort of part of life. My brother, he's kind of my friend, but my brother, his training partner passed away, who was a black belt, and another guy who was a brown belt had passed away. That was my brother's training partner, whom I had also trained with when I was training. And these were young. I mean, these are guys in their 40s. This is not old age. You know, we sort of think that we're going to live until 85 or 90 or 95. Whereas, you know, people are dying. Like my friend passed away. He was 34. My dad passed away in his early 70s, which is a good, you know, it's a decent age, but not necessarily the optimal age to pass away. And I think when we start realizing that, it's like, man, you know, this whole thing is short, or it can be short. We don't know when our time is going to happen. And so because of that, we shouldn't be spending our time in the things that I talked about, like the vices of men, because we're not able to. It prevents us from going on journeys because we don't have the time. So we have to maximize. I don't know what else to do. Like if someone could tell me what would actually be better than pursuing your life's journeys, I would listen. I would genuinely want to have you on the podcast, and I'd want to know what is better than pursuing a life of growth and improving myself in all aspects, both you know, relationships with women, with my friends, with my family, with my business, with my health, and just with my passions. Like if there's something cooler, let me know. Until then, this is what I'm doing.
Yes. Oh, my brother, you're such a beautiful soul, man. Yeah, so refreshing to see someone so young and, man, doing so much, you know, making a difference, a real difference on the world. Thank you so much for the work you're doing. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, genuine, I'm fan of what you're doing, and inspired me as well to do a little bit. You know, I'm doing, you know, just in a small proportion here, but I'm trying my best as well.
I think what you're doing is really incredible, especially for, you know, if you're really impacting a lot of guys in that community, New Zealand being an island, and any amount of people is powerful. And it's sometimes hard to see how many people you're impacting when you're doing it online, because you don't necessarily see everyone.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know that you know, you had been listening to this. I didn't know that you had gone into prison. There's guys reading the book in prison. Like I didn't know that. Like that's really cool. That's really inspiring. But yeah, I really think what you're doing is great, and you have a unique angle as well. And what you're doing with jiu-jitsu and helping the guys as they come into your academy, I think it's really great. And so keep up that great work.
Thank you, my bro. Thank you so much. Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna share this. I'm really excited to share this with the community. So yeah, Andrew, again, thank you so much. Give yourself as you said on your podcast. No, please give yourself a plug for the listeners who want to know more about your work, please.
Yeah, I think I mean, we've been talking about the podcast, so obviously we're on a podcast now. So just Knowledge for Men, you could find it on iTunes. For guys that are interested in learning more about the work I do, they could go to kfmlive.com and they would just watch a video. If they're interested in kind of the next step of what it would look like to join a program, they could pursue it then. kfmlive.com. But ultimately, thank you so much for having me on the show. When I got your email and when I kind of looked at what you're doing, you know, it was an instant hell yeah. Even if you have, I don't know the size of the fine, but regardless, like I'm excited and happy to spend my time here with you before I go surfing sunset.
Awesome, Andrew. Thank you so much, man. No, you have no idea how I'm happy to, to have this conversation with you and so much value as well. Everything you said. Yeah, it's amazing, my brother. Thank you so much. I really appreciate.
Thank you. It's been an honor.
Thank you.